Welcome again, it's Egwin from Scope of Life. Today we talk about another aspect of walking. Now, all vertebrates have one thing in common, apart from them having vertebrae, obviously. No matter if it's birds, if it's lizards, apes, humans, all of them have one biomechanical aspect in common. And this is called head leads. It means that your head, the position of your head, actually leads the rest of your movement, or at least it should. No matter if it's a horse or a cow, normally, wherever your head points, you are walking. Everything else is an exception. So obviously, as human beings, we can walk and still look somewhere else. But that's a tremendous amount of work that our brain has to do in order for this to actually be possible, because we constantly have to fight our biomechanical nature. How this all comes together and how it helps you to walk a lot better and how to actually propel yourself forward using the concept of head leads, I'll show you in a second. First of all, I want you to make a small exercise. Try the following. Get in a comfortable standing position, upright standing position. Observe how much pressure do you actually have in your joints right now. And I don't mean only the joints in your leg area. I also mean how much pressure do you have in your spine and in the rest of your body. Obviously, if you're very tense and not used to any sort of this exercise, then it might be difficult for you to even answer this simple question. But I ask of you, just give it a couple of tries and then realize differences on the way, which will also increase your awareness of your physical body, which in general is a great tool for your health. Now, from this standing position, just normally walk to the front. Just take a walk straight out. The next thing I want to ask from you is walk the same line after you've observed your body structure. Walk the same line with one small difference. After, say, the first 2 or 3 steps, you change something. You turn your head. Just walk and then turn your head. I kept walking right now. I ask you to do the same at the moment. But observe what happens in the body when you walk and you turn your head. Observe what happens to your shoulders, what happens to your chest, to your thoracic spine, to your lumbar spine, what happens to your hips, what happens to the weight distribution between your 2 legs. There is something going on, right? Yes, it is. And that's not something where maybe something happens. It's a question of whether or not you can actually perceive it. Because as mentioned before, if you're not used to listen to your body, to check out different body aspects, then maybe you don't really know what to look for. The only thing I ask is, do you feel differences between the first version with going straight and the straight head and the second version where we turned the head to the side? If there are differences, that's good already. Try this a couple of times, maybe with the head turning to the left, then back to the front, then with the head turning to the right, then back to the front. Obviously, on your own, you can do this with much more walking distance. So you don't have to do just 2 or 3 meters. That might even stress you out in the exercise. Oh shit, over there, it's already the point where I have to turn around or something like that. No. Better idea is you go out somewhere where you can walk on a more or less even ground for, say, 10, 20, maybe 100 meters, and there you can try this out without any problem. Next exercise is we do the same thing, but as soon as you turn your head, don't keep telling the body to walk to the front. Just give the idea or give the command to the body to turn the head and then see what happens. Allow the body to react as it actually would react without you controlling everything. And when I do this, starting from back here, and I just simply start walking, and I turn my head, my body suddenly will automatically follow my head. That's not something that I made up. That's a basic biomechanical principle of all vertebrates, human included. It's due to our so-called superior mind that we have the ability to coordinate our muscles in a different way. But the question is this ability always the best choice? And the answer is no. Why? Because due to that, our system, our body, emotional and mental system sometimes gets torn apart. So we are not in all the situations we are in with 100% of our focus, of our ability, of our mobility at all times. Sometimes that's good, like when we're walking on the street, for instance, it's quite a good thing to be able to look to the side and check the traffic, obviously. But when you just simply walk around the corner and you walk around that corner, you look somewhere else, you might not notice that you're pumping into someone or something like that. Those are all tiny little aspects where it might be a good idea to actually mind your body instead of mind your mind. When you walk wherever, somewhere in nature, you take a walk, you're in the park taking a walk, it's a good idea to reset your body and to tell your body, hey, look, I want you to function properly and I take care of you by helping you. So whenever I turn my head, I allow my body to follow. So this actually trains you not only in a biomechanical physical sense, but also in a mental sense to be much more in the moment and in a specific given situation with all the ability you have. Coming back to the original title. Now, how does this head leads help us in taking a regular step? I'm not even talking left and right here. I'm just simply talking taking a step. Obviously, if I want to go to the front, I can have my head lead my movement. That was extremely exaggerated and completely wrong because my structure up here in the cervical spine collapsed completely because I was pulling my head back actually. Now back meaning into my back but stretching the cervical spine to the front. So that's nothing natural. But try the following exercise. Stand completely straight and now simply let yourself fall to the front. At a certain point, obviously, you'll notice you will automatically take a step in order to regain balance. And that's exactly the kind of experience I want you to make right now on a conscious level. So from here, you just simply let yourself fall to the front and you realize, whoa, okay, I have to take steps in order to prevent myself from falling on my nose. And that's exactly what we want. Now, in a reduced way, this is actually the starting, the ignition action of every time I start moving. If I stay here with my shoulders pulled back, with my head pulled back, and I start marching like in the military, now I actually have to push myself off my feet in order to get going. In the first tutorial where I was talking about how to walk correctly, I mentioned the ankles, and I mentioned the importance of the ankles being opened to the front in order for the knee joint to be free. Same principle goes for the rest of the body. Whenever you want to move from A to B, at some point you need your muscles to push you. But the first impulse, the ignition of the movement, has to happen freely. That's one of the basic principles of a good, healthy life and movement. So whenever you want to go somewhere, if I want to walk up this hill, I obviously go around the tree, and I don't go exactly towards the tree and try to actually move the tree aside. Sounds logical. It's the same with movement in yourself. If I stand here, if I take the military example again, I pull back my shoulders, I straighten my cervical and my chest spine, and my thoracic spine, and my lumbar spine, and I gently pull back my head, sort of stand straight, and from this position I start walking. You actually realize you can do this exercise. Try this out, and you realize you need a lot of power in your legs in order to propel you forward, because your upper body is not at all in a state of moving forward. It's in a state of standing still in one position. What head leads means in terms of walking is that every action of walking actually starts with your center of gravity being shifted a little bit to the front. You'll notice that it's not a lot that's necessary. Obviously, in the exercise before, I let myself fall down quite a bit before I start walking. But if you think about it, this equilibrium with the weight, that's really something where gravity works rather quickly on us. If we stand completely straight, we're in a perfect alignment with all our joints down into the ground, and the gravity just simply holds us in place. As soon as I move my center of gravity even half a centimeter or half an inch to the front, then the center of gravity will already pull me a little more to the front and more to the front and more to the front and more to the front until the point when I fall, unless I counteract this imbalance with my muscles. So obviously I can shift my body to the front and still not fall, but right now I use the muscles in my legs to counteract this natural falling aspect. Now, if I allow a controlled fall in the first couple of centimeters of getting off balance, that's me opening the path to the front, because suddenly I don't need that much pressure in my legs anymore to propel my weight forward, because my weight is already being pulled into the forward movement using gravity. That's just simple mechanical principle. And that's exactly what's the basic principle of starting to walk to the front and opening up one's own pathway. One part is opening up the ankles. The other part is how this movement actually starts. Obviously, you can start by opening the ankles to the front, but just opening the ankles to the front still doesn't propel you forward unless you're already in a forward motion. And this first ignition aspect, that's you letting your head lead, bringing your head and your whole system just a fraction of an inch to the front and allowing gravity to actually pull you forward. And obviously, long before you fall, then you start opening your ankles to the front and your feet will naturally follow. To this upper part, there is one second part, and this second part is actually your lumbar area and your sacrum. Now, if in this position you manage to let yourself being pulled forward, so you have to actually bring yourself out of the equilibrium, as soon as that happened, then gravity already works for you. And right now, look at my pelvis, at my sacrum. The first thing that happens is that the sacrum is actually dropping down, so your lumbar spine lengthens. The lengthening of the lumbar spine is actually what helps to open the ankle to the front and what helps you to take your step to the front without being in your own way. So the whole movement goes from here, you start to bring yourself just a little bit out of equilibrium, you let yourself drop a little bit to the front. Now you let your pelvis drop down, and the pelvis dropping down helps to open up the leg and the ankle to the front for your first step that you have to take in order not to fall. The faster you want to go, the more you allow your body to being pulled by gravity before you put the foot to the front. Now obviously at some point you need your glutes and you need your gastrocnemius to push you even further if you want to go faster, or if you go running. But just for simple, normal, regular, healthy walking, that's the way that gives you the most freedom and the least possible pressure in all the joints in your whole body. And that's a very nice feeling, and it really helps you to de-stress your whole body. Suddenly, movement becomes free, pressure is released out of the joints, out of your muscles, and suddenly the whole stress level of your body drops down, which helps you once again to manage your daily life in a much healthier and regulated state. Now, if for whatever reason you're not yet capable of letting your sacrum drop down like this, because your muscles back here in the lumbar spine are too tense, don't bother. It's not that big of a deal. The most important thing you've done already, when you bring your body out of equilibrium, you realize the pull of gravity, and then you start walking, opening your ankles. This letting your pelvis drop down is coordinationally not easy for someone who's done it in a different way for a long period of time. Still, it is the natural way how to walk, the natural biomechanically correct way of how to walk and how to propel your legs to the front if you want the least possible amount of pressure in your joints and of tension in your muscles. Have a wonderful time trying out those methods. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below, and there will obviously be another tutorial talking about some more intricacies about how to actually walk correctly, how to maintain our physical health using something as simple as walking. Have a wonderful day and see you around.